how's it going?
Miss Julie on my screen
Hey,
today.
peeps.
True crime
Hey, my
tales in
sweet
her own
darlings.
way.
So happy you're here.
Love for everyone
Guys,
she shares. Life
that's a
stories
nice one.
told with flair. She dives into mystery, brings suspense in every scene.
Hi, Randy.
Smiling,
Good to see you, sweetie.
heart so pure. In her world we all adore. Miss Julie's world.
Good to see you.
It's where we turn to life.
Hey, how's everybody?
And filled with
Hey,
every
darling.
word.
How is everybody?
Late nights and coffee
Oh, good to see.
sips, unfolding plots from twisted scripts. Through dark
Hey,
days,
guys.
she
Sorry.
lights our way, making sure we're here to
Hey.
stay. Miss Julie.
Good to see y'all. Hi, darlings.
They took my name, they took my time, taught me fear, said it's divine. A hollow prayer in a locked up shrine. The walls don't speak, but they know my cries. Counting stars through iron skies. We are the broken wings, caught in a cage that sings. But the song is pain, oh the song is pain. We are the voices that remain. Promises wrapped in razor wire. Dreams burned up in the coldest fire. They sold control as something higher. We are the broken wings, caught in a cage that sings. But the song is pain, oh the song is pain. We are the voices that remain. They called it love while they took our life. The shadows don't own the night. We rise, we rise. We are the broken wings, caught in a cage that sings. But the song is pain, oh the song is pain. We are the voices that remain. They called it love while they took our light. But shadows don't own the night. We rise, we rise, we rise. We are the broken wings, caught in a cage that sings. But the song is pain, oh the song is pain. We are the voices that remain.
Hello, my darlings. Good to see y'all. I hope y'all are ready for a good show tonight. We are so excited to be able to have a special guest in tonight. But before I go there, I want to take just a moment to say a little something about my friend, Christine. You are going to be so missed. We love you. Praying for your family. Rest now. We love you. Okay, with that, tonight we have a special guest. His name's John Moody, and he is a Bethel boy. It's what their group is called, and it's survivors of the the Bethel Home Academy for Boys. So, first of all, I want to bring up my little partner, Miss Brandy. Hi, Brandy.
Hello,
Good to see
hello, everyone.
And Brandy's here tonight. She has a lot of questions for John. But I think y'all are really going to enjoy it because he is definitely a talker, and he does like to share. So, without further ado, Mr. John Moody. Hi, John.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing?
Good to
Hey,
see you.
Hey,
Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here and to share your story.
hey, thank you for giving me this safe platform to tell my story. So,
Oh, absolutely. We are really excited for it.
and I'm sorry if you guys can't hear me or see me that good. I have to use my phone because we're in a process of moving, so packing up their stuff. So just got to bear with me if I.
No, you're fine. You sound good, and the picture's really, really good too. So, again, we're happy you're here. So, typically, what we do, we just let you have the platform and let you start to tell your story. But I do know that Brandy has some questions prepared for you. So, Brandy, which way you like? Would you like to start tonight?
Well, I can give you
uh,
my intro, and then you guys can
yeah,
ask me the questions. I mean, I can.
That's perfect. Perfect.
So, everybody, my name is John Moody. I was 12 years old when I attended Bethel Baptist Boys Academy in Lucedale, Mississippi. Um, this little rundown on how I ended up there is I was cross-eyed, I was ADD, and just kind of acted out and stuff, and and just the school system kind of failed me as a child. They see me as a nuisance in class, so the best thing they could do is just to shuffle me out the class. So, but I ended up going to a child psychologist, and I was referred to this place, and I actually kind of wanted to go, and so I made my journey with my dad and my brother down to Lucedale, Mississippi, where I ended up on Herman Fountain's doorstep, and that's where the nightmare began. I mean, and then we can go back to, and I could tell you some, the other stuff that happened, on the how I got there and stuff. But we can go. I can go ahead and answer some of these questions you guys got for me.
Okay.
yeah. Actually, John, I think you got this, and I think you can absolutely go ahead and just do you. And
Well, I mean, I
there's
can do
a
the rundown.
couple.
I mean, I'd more or less want you guys to ask me the questions. I mean, you guys know the rundown story. I just, there's just so much to tell. You know what I mean? So I don't know where to really begin. I mean, what part do you guys want to hear? I mean, there's so much to say. I mean.
Right, I got you. Okay, all right. Oh, give me just a second. Let me get my questions pulled up and working on it.
And how do I see the comments? Are we able to see the comments?
Oh yeah, we are. Let's see here. See if anybody. Any guys have any questions for John right now? Because you said you were 12 years old,
Hmm?
and how many members, or I don't want to say, I ain't gonna say, but they actually were captives, in my opinion.
How many cadets were there?
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't tell you the exact number. I mean, over the years, you've seen people come and go. I mean, and usually when you've seen somebody go, they got some kind of, significant injury to their body or something. I mean, that's pretty much the way out of there, I mean, was to get hurt. I mean, and it took a lot. I mean, you had to get really hurt just to leave that place. So and it seemed like anytime that anybody went to the hospital, you never seen them again. So
I know you told us last night that there was a very traumatic time in your life with of finding bodies.
Yeah. So
can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, when I was younger, me and my buddies were in a canoe, and we was going up a creek, and they were wanting to turn around, and something was telling me just to keep going, and I had to forcefully keep them, going ahead and stuff. But well, anyways, long story short was we ended up finding a guy that was been in the water for 3 or 4 days, and he was handcuffed, and I just remember when we came up on him, the wakes were hitting him in his head, and his eyes were open and stuff, and he was bouncing up and down and stuff, and that was the first time I ever seen something like that,
And how old were you then?
I was probably like 11, 10, something. I don't know exact age, but the thing is it was pretty traumatic because, if I was a law enforcement, I would have made the kids leave the scene, you know what I mean? Especially when they started trying to recover the body, but we was able to actually sit there and watch that, and they about decapitated the guy trying to pull him out, by his neck and stuff, and it was pretty traumatic. So
that's sad.
Yep.
And I know also that you lost your brother.
Yeah, he drowned too. He actually saved a little boy's life and drowned in 2000. So it's when I got out of Bethel. It was like I don't know exactly the months, but it was not too long after I came back, and so, I was just trying to rekindle my relationship with my brother. Me and him was, pretty close. And so I had a good summer with him that year. He died in July 18th. So, he died July 17th, and I didn't find his body till the 19th. And so that was really traumatic, and then just going through the ordeal of not being able to tell your story, to your mom and dad, I had to keep that all in, because obviously they were, dealing with something traumatic too.
Right.
But, they did recognize that I was going through something, and they gave me everything and I can say it probably did worse, the way they did things, they kind of babied me, I guess, it kind of made me not appreciate things, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what exactly led me into the life of drinking. It was just the combination of, just the trauma I went through, and then just not be able to tell your story, and then just the social anxiety of worrying about what people thought about you and stuff, So it was all a factor in that stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I lived a good life, but I also lived an extremely hard life, dealing with depression and stuff. So,
I couldn't help but admire you for something you said last night, that as hard and as traumatic that it was for you, that you would do it all over again.
That wouldn't change one thing. So, I met a lot of good people, and even though I might have not liked them at the time I was there and stuff, you still built a strong bond with them because you're surviving as kids, together and stuff. So, actually when I left, I had separation anxiety from that place. And, over the years you would just think about these people and, you'd cry, and just have all these bad, thoughts and stuff. But reconnecting with these guys, and then, just being a voice for them, I mean, it started a chain reaction, because you're talking about guys that, have bottled this stuff up, lived a hard life, being a man and stuff, but when they see, that I can do it and come out about it, and, it's caused chain reaction. And then, so.
Well, you help give them courage.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I do that. It's not just when I say I do this to get these guys validation, it's not just that. It's so much more. These guys needed to be able to vent about this stuff and talk about it, and replay this stuff in your head, because for the longest time, holding it in for 27 years, and you can't really tell nobody because it's so outlandish. It does kind of do bad things to your mental growth and stuff. You know, I mean, it definitely affected my mental growth. You know, so just dealing with all that stuff. You know, and that's what we want to try to do is we need to make people aware of, catching these things. I mean, this Herman Fountain had everything in his arsenal to help these kids. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of these kids needed, psychiatric help and, just all kinds of stuff. And they didn't get, all they did there was beat you, and like my buddy Dave always says, is it easier to beat a dog into submission, or is it easier to, be patient and, teach this dog the right way and stuff? And that's what they did to us. They treated us like animals and they just beat us into submission, and that's a temporary thing. You know what I mean? If they would have taught us good values, I mean, they had, like I said, he made over $88 million off of these children and stuff. He could have, done the right thing and taught us the right way and stuff, but,
So you were 12 years old when you went into the Bethel Home for Boys.
Yep.
So tell me what a typical day was there for you. From the time you rose to the time you went to bed.
Everything was chaotic. There wasn't a day without chaos. I mean, now if you became a senior cadet or something, you might have had some leisure time, to kind of stroll and do stuff what you wanted. But more or less, you were woke up in a violent way and you went to bed in kind of a violent way. I mean, there was days that it wasn't so violent, but, you were worried about going to sleep because if somebody ran away, everybody was going to get in trouble for it. It was just going to be chaos. And, you couldn't just go use the restroom or talk to somebody, with leisure. It all had to be, everything was the same thing every day. And like I tell people, kids should be allowed to have a bad day. It's just a part about growing up and stuff, and if you had a bad day there, you were going to have an extremely bad day. I mean, it was going to, and then the thing is with that is if you got in trouble, you'd get your butt beat and bad things would happen to you, but then they would also beat everybody else. They would turn everybody against you. So it was like a mental warfare type thing. They were really, really good at turning people against you and, just using that. There's kids up there that you could beat them senseless and they just wouldn't, but you start turning all these other people against that person, it's going to, you see a drastic change in their just a demeanor. I've literally seen kids lose their mind, going through this program. You see them being this normal person to they're not the same person no more, and a guy I knew, his name was Joe Paolo. He was actually one of the people that was able to sue Herman Fountain, and he won a lawsuit. I think it was like 900 some thousand. His brother did too. But they used to make me pee on this lemon tree down there below on the bottom of the barracks, and it was just weird. They made me. I mean, for like a year, I pissed on this lemon tree, and that's the only place I was allowed to pee pretty much during the day. But anyways, he just swan dived off this balcony and trying to kill himself, and he landed at my feet and stuff. And I just remember being in shock, sitting there listening to these weird noises coming out of his, I thought he was taking his last breath. I was pretty much in shock and stuff. And then I got in trouble for not doing nothing about it, and what was I supposed to do? I was 12 years old. But I think Dave's saying that if you guys need to read that message with Dave.
Yeah, so it'll be here about 30 minutes.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've responded to him.
Okay.
But yeah, Dave, I'll tell you something about Dave. He was an older guy, so he was one of the cadets that were made to hurt people. You know what I mean? I mean, he so a lot of there's a lot of guys there. Most of these guys they did bad things to me because I was so young. I was me and the guy named Alan Noe, he was tortured there. And we wasn't just tortured by Herman Fountain and William Knott. We was tortured by the kids there too. And they were made to do this stuff to us. And that's what really hurt me was the physical stuff I got over. It was the mental stuff, being isolated. I think the whole time I was there, I felt like I was by myself. I didn't have really nobody else that had anything in common with me. I mean, I met one guy and he became my friend, but he had to pretend like he wasn't, and that was the sad thing about that, But this guy saved my life. I mean, that's the only reason I got out of this place was because, a guy named Ron Coleman, and They would brainwash us and stuff to where you wouldn't say nothing to your parents. And people say, oh, you can't brainwash me. I'd say the same thing. Like, these people that hypnotize people and stuff. That's pretty much what they were doing to us. They hypnotize us not to say nothing to your parents. And Brother Fountain, he would, like, he just had a golden tongue. And a kid would tell us, get something back to the parents, so the parents would question him, and he goes, well, wasn't your kid sitting here for lying, stealing, doing drugs, and da da da? Well, yeah. Well, what makes you think he's not doing that now? That's what he would say. And so, I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, and if your child is acting up and lying and all that stuff, what do you believe? You just don't want to believe in your heart. Especially in the '90s, there wasn't this social media and stuff, all this stuff going on. It took a while for a story to get across the United States. And so,
I
but
can't help but notice that you said Brother Fountain.
I mean, that's what we knew him as.
That's what you were instructed to address him as.
Yeah.
Huh?
Brother Fountain. My first day there, they tied me up to a tree and they whipped me for having a New King James Version Bible, and then he burned that Bible. And and what's crazy about it is I've had people from Mississippi reach out to me, and I'm not saying Mississippi's bad or anything, none of that stuff, but they were trying to justify why he did what he did. You know what I mean? Why couldn't he just set me down and say, hey, John, this is not a Bible that we believe in. Instead they beat me for it. They said they had to beat the devil out of me. I mean,
so they beat you because the Bible wasn't a King James version, right?
Yes. And I have nothing against religion. I'm not here to bash religion or anything, but when a man's using the word of God to torture kids, it's not right. So,
well, we've had this discussion many times that I mean, we are God-fearing people. I love the Lord. I praise the Lord, but those people used God, and God did not have a hand in nothing that happened there, in my opinion.
Well, God put me through this just to do what I'm doing today. So, that's what I found the positives in all these negatives. And the thing is, it took me years I even forgave Fountain, to tell you the truth, but I can't forgive him for what he's done to other people. And that's the thing. This is why I'm here. And, his wife, his kids, they all tortured us, but my thing is it took me a lot of years of growing up to think about it. They were put in the same position as we were. They were made to do these things, and act this way, especially as his kids, I mean, his kids have reached out to me and, apologized, and they check on me every once in a while and stuff. And, but, they were brought up in this life, and they were brought up in that stuff, I mean, his Josh Fountain, his son, he would get put in the barracks with us for months at a time for, doing something like a kid would do, but my thing is this guy still walks this earth today, and we don't promote violence or anything, but he needs to be accountable for what he's done. I mean, I could tell you guys stories that would blow your mind about what he's done, and he was the prodigy of this Lester Roloff. And if anybody knows about Lester Roloff, I mean, it was. There's people to this day that still praise him, and
yeah, so. we've done a few lives on Lester Roloff, haven't we, Brandy?
Yes, we have. As a matter of fact, we know quite a bit about Mr. Roloff.
Yeah.
We have articles where where these girls were getting pedoed and stuff, and they were selling these babies in a Piggly Wiggly's supermarket. They didn't even have enough decency to do it they did in a parking lot at a Piggly Wiggly's, And,
we've had rumors, I mean, and stories told to us that they sold these babies for as much as $250.
I believe it, and I bet you some of them are free, because these girls were getting, made to do these sexual acts to people, and they get pregnant. Well, we got to get rid of that evidence. You know what I mean? We can't be questioned about this stuff. I mean, just think about that. I mean, and think about the kids that never even had a chance to survive and live.
Right.
That's all. I can't get into that side of it. But I mean, some of these kids didn't survive, and to this day, I help these women. They're trying to, they're trying to find their babies. I mean, and that's what's sad about it. And maybe that, you know, us talking about this, you know, somebody knows something, or somebody can, you know, reach out to us, and we can get these people in touch with their children, you know. I mean, because some of these girls were little kids, you know. I mean, 13, 14-year-old girls having babies, you know. And I can only
we
imagine.
actually have a someone that has become a friend of ours. That her name's Melinda. She actually had just spent the weekend with her. Was reunited with her son she was forced to give up when she was at the Bethesda Home for Girls.
See, and that happened a lot, you know. So I know her, and I know a lot of the Bethesda girls. I mean, you know, that's what the thing is, you know, I didn't know how big this was. This whole thing was, you know, it was really overwhelming. And, you know, and I can see why people will think that these girls or these guys are conspiracy theorists, you know, because when they get the opportunity to tell their story, you know, what happens is they try to rush through the story because they're wanting to tell you the whole thing, you know, in a one little setting, you know. And it took them years to learn some of this stuff, you know. And
Right.
that's the thing is, you know, then people are like, oh, that's just conspiracy theories, because it's, you know, it sounds like they're just going off the wall. And, you know, that's why when I do these lives, it's taking me a while to really stay focused on this subject, you know what I mean? Because it's always bouncing around, you know, and that's people lose interest when they don't understand what's going on, you know. And but I mean, like, I don't know if anybody knows, but they used to drown us there. They would do this thing called drowner resuscitation. I mean, that was some scary stuff. I've seen Alan Knoll get waterboarded. He's a author of Surviving Bethel, you know, and all these guys are, I mean, it's just sad. I mean, they've all lived these sad lives, you know, and just not all of us were lucky to have good parents and stuff, you know. And a lot of them came homeless. A lot of them passed away. A lot of them, you know, off themselves and became drug addicts, you know. And I've had, you know, sisters and mothers reach out to me, and I gave them validation about why their kid did what they did, you know, and ended up the way they did. They never knew why their son ended up like this, you know. And I told them, I said, if you knew what happened to us at Bethel, you know, and we had to survive together, you know. I mean, it's
Now,
you know,
so
and
for anyone that's here that doesn't know, when we speak of the Bethel, where are we talking about again?
where
Hmm.
so Herman Fountain came from, I'm going to tell you the spill on this. So Herman Fountain came from Capitol Hill, Oklahoma. He was born 1949 there in Capitol Hill in Oklahoma. It's over by the state capitol. He ended up going to New York, where he became a heroin addict. I believe he went to prison. I've read the stuff, but he went to prison for a while, came back to Oklahoma. I guess he supposedly found God, and he followed a family out to Corpus Christi, Texas, to the Rebecca Home for Girls, and he became the prodigy to Lester Roloff, you know. And so I guess, you know, years down the line, you know, he was granted this permission to go. You know, I don't know if this was Lester Roloff's property or not. I mean, I've heard speculations that it was gifted to him or whatever. Because, you know, Lester Roloff was gifted a lot of land and money and all this other stuff. So, but he opened up this home in Lucedale, Mississippi. And it's a little bitty town in Mississippi. I mean, it's way down south. I mean, you know, that's why I never ran away. You know, those woods were scary. Those swamps were scary down there. I mean, it's not some place you wanted to go mess around in, especially at my age, you know. But a lot of those guys would run away, you know, and it was chaos. I mean, I have a good friend of mine, and I call him the Underground Railroad. I mean, he ran away and he lived in a shanty with a Hispanic guy for months, and he would come back at nighttime, and you would see him pop up out of the woods while I was sitting in my barracks, and you'd see him pop up. It was scary. It was like a ghost, and he was getting people to come back and run away with him. He was getting people, trying to get people out of there. So his name is Jason Stranger, a good friend of mine. But, you know, he's fought his demons too, even to this day, you know, and like we all have. You know, people don't realize, you know, they say man up, get over stuff, but when you go through so much stuff, it's hard to, you literally, it's taken me years to grow up the correct way. I mean, it's taken me a lot of years to mature, you know. But most of my friends, you know, and all that stuff, they've matured, you know, way before I did, you know, and because it stunted our mental growth, you know. Just I can't say that for everybody, but you know,
PTSD
do
is
what?
tough. PTSD is tough.
Oh yeah, CPDS. I've never been to a psychiatrist or anything, but I'm sure that if they knew the stuff that I went through and just the way I've acted and how violent I was and just the reaction to things, you know,
Oh, yeah.
I was like Jekyll and Hyde, you know, 1 minute was happy, 1 minute was sad, you know, and you just didn't want to be on the bad side of me. You know, I was an extremely violent person when I got out. You know, when it came to fighting and stuff, I was pushed into fight and I didn't wanted to fight like that no more. But people forced me into that, you know, and they wanted to see what I could do, you know, and that's all we did. You know, it's just, we was up there with us. They would take us to these underground fights. They would make us fight each other all the time. And it was just, you know, sicking pit bulls on us and just crazy stuff. I mean, I can't believe that Herman Fountain allowed this guy to do this crap. I mean, they literally had pit bulls tied up out in the woods, feeding them gunpowder and whey protein and, you know, just torturing them and then sicking them on these kids, you know, making these dogs bite the kids and stuff. And then, you know, and then taking them to these dog fights and just, if they didn't do good, they were going to throw these dogs in the cages and throw them in the pond. You know, they'd make us do that kind of shit. And that to me right there it was horrible.
What years were you there?
97 to 99. I don't know the exact part of the year. I know it was kind of cooler when I got there. There was a hurricane because I remember me and my dad, my brother had helped this lady out. She was living in her car. She lost her house and stuff. And we stopped there and we helped her out and stuff. And gave her some money and stuff. And she showed us how to get to where we was going. But
John, you said you were 12 when you went there?
Yeah.
Who, may I ask, made the decision to send you there?
So I'll tell you the crazy story. So what happened was I was getting in trouble in school and stuff, and I was acting out, and I was ADD. So, you know, back then that they were really pushing that Adderall on these kids and the Ritalin and all that stuff. So, you know, I think one of the teachers at my school, you know, my mom was even a teacher, but referred to stuff. So they, you know, these teachers are getting really pushed into that direction. You know, I think it was what they did, just, you know, but anyways, I ended up seeing this child psychologist. His name was Dr. Rhines. And when I was a kid, 11 years old, he was trying to groom me and by saying some really bad stuff to me. And he obviously knew that I wasn't going to play that game with him. You know, as a young child, I knew that something was majorly wrong. So after he said this stuff to me, he would not make eye contact with me. He would not look at me. You could tell he was kind of ashamed, you know, like he knew that I knew that he was, you know, something was wrong, you know. So I think that the reason he referred me to this place is to distance himself between me and him, you know what I mean, in case any allegations were ever said, you know. Right. And kind of find out he did end up going to prison for child molestation and stuff. And so, I mean, that just tells you how, as a young child, I was real aware of weird things like that. You know, I was always really observant about things. And so the thing, then I was still kind of getting in trouble and, you know, just acting out at home and stuff. I was just an unhappy kid. And, you know, I took that out on my parents, you know. And so my mom and them were sitting me on a porch one day and I begged them to send me there and they weren't going to do it. And then my mom was like, well, they was just going to go take a tour of the place. And we went down there. Well, you know, being my older brother and all that stuff. And, you know, he's like, we didn't drive, you know, 800 miles for him just to go, you know. So he, you know, they wanted the best. My brother and my dad wanted the best. But, you know, back then, you know, it was that hard love. And, you know, they didn't know this stuff would even existed, you know. Nobody did. I mean, they literally had travel agencies you can go to and they could find you the best suitable place for your child, you know what I mean? And people are making it's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. I mean, so, but I ended up going there because, you know, more or less and I was the only kid that I know that's ever said that they wanted to go there. Most of these kids were, you know, they had to go there. You know, you had kids that were trying to kill people and, you know, peddle their siblings or, you know, did some violent stuff or was in part of gangs in LA and stuff, you know. I mean, it was some serious stuff. I mean, those guys that would come there, I mean, I remember there was kids that on the way down there, they would get away and they would go try to hijack a car and stuff. But when they got to that Bethel, I'm talking about, they damn near got their life beat out of them by that William Knight. And, you know, I've seen it time and time again. You know, they would break you down. I've seen just some of the wildest shit you could do to a kid. I mean, I'm talking about wild. I mean,
Right.
unexplainable things. I mean, just why would somebody do this? Because, you know, I mean, it would take somebody that had hatred, you know, and I just don't understand it.
You shared with us that one of the things that they did, basically, they tortured you by drowning you.
Yep.
So, can you kind of explain just exactly what you mean by that?
I mean, exactly so they would drown us in all different kind of ways. You know, my first drowning was I was on a dock of a pond, and I was held under the water in a murky, nasty pond where they drowned. They did some things to these dogs, but anyways, kitchen sink. You know, you be doing the dishes. I have a buddy. You know, he was actually in the 2000s, but I'm not say his name, but anyways, you guys can see that stuff on our on their testimonies and stuff. But anyways, you know, they would hold your head on the water while you're doing dishes, and then you'd wake up in the floor, you know, and the last thing you remember is doing dishes. But they'd make us tread water. So like the Navy SEALs, what they do is that, you know, you get out in formation, you know, they do it in the ocean, but we did it in a swimming pool. They had a swimming pool, and you know, you get arm lengths away and you're sitting there treading water, you know, and you're doing this treading water for 4 or 5 hours at a time. And you can't get out of the pool. If you're going to try to even touch the edge of the pool, they would knock you out. I mean, he hit you in the head with something and knock you out. And then, but what was crazy about it is you knew that at some point one of these kids were going to go down, and he was going to grab hit another kid, and it was a chain reaction of people just starting to just going under. So I mean, and over time, you know, it happened so many times, you just knew to go under, take a breath, and then you'd wake up on the somehow you woke up on the concrete or wherever you was at. I mean, so, and then they would waterboard us and stuff, and I never got waterboarded, but I've seen, and that was one thing that I'd always worried about, because I just knew it was going to happen to me sooner or later, and it never did. But that right there freaked me out. You know, I'd rather have been drowned where you go unconscious than to wake up to something and then not sit there and not go unconscious. You're sitting there just being tortured by, you're trying to take breaths and stuff, and you know, and before you pass out or go out, you know, he's going to stop pouring the water on your face, and you know, it's back and forth. It's just crazy.
So they literally would do CPR on you to bring you back?
Yeah. See, well, he would, they would, yeah. I mean, yeah. Now, when they waterboard us, they didn't. They never let you go out when they waterboard. It was when they drowned you. Yeah, they would give you CPR. I mean, so, but not a lot of kids I've seen. It was me, and when I was there, it was several other kids. But it was usually the same kids over and over that kind of had that happen to them. I mean, so.
So, Brandy, what kind of? Let's start with some of your questions, please.
Okay. I started asking a couple of them.
Hey, what's that, guys? Real quick, I spilt my drink.
Fine.
Oh no! Bless him.
Brandy, I'm sorry I had to mute you a little bit because it's like feedback or something.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think, oh no.
No, I kind of figured that there was a reason for it.
You know, Herman Fountain, they used to court kids down out there too. You know, a lot of the people that reached out to me had kids while they were there, and you know, these kids, they would ask, you know, Herman Fountain for permission, and he would give them the okay. But I have a good friend of mine that had a kid when she was there, and they call it the Great Raid. When they raided the facility, even the guy that got her pregnant had aged out, and he went to prison with Herman Fountain when he struck that officer. And they took those kids that they didn't get out of. I think they was able to recover 70 kids, but all the other kids were hid up in an attic by a guy named Brother Oates. and they didn't let those kids come out of that attic until it calmed down, and then they made these kids go out and work to support that facility.
It's craziness.
I mean, it's just wild, you know. And I always wondered, you know, all the medication and stuff that came in there, you know, that was dropped off to these kids and stuff. Where did it all go? You know, was he taking that medication? Is that why he was acting the way he was? I mean,
gotcha.
You know, when I went there, I was taking a Ritalin, and for them just to take me off of it like that, I never knew why I was so sick when I was there. I was a child, but I was actually addicted to, you know, Ritalin. I mean, I was addicted to that stuff, and you know, it was so. When you're exercising like you are every day, and then your body's trying to recover, you never really recover like you're supposed to. You know what I mean? Your body doesn't, you know, and like they did a lot of damage to my legs. So they'll make you duck walk everywhere. They make you do leg exercises to where you can't run away, and they actually did like serious damage to my legs. You know, I lost probably, you know, 2 or 3 sizes on my legs just doing so much workouts. You know, they weren't letting my legs heal and stuff. And it took me about 6 to 7 months to be a child again. You know, after I got off orientation, and which orientation is like boot camp. So I was on there. I was probably one of the longest kids that I've ever seen on there. I was on there for about 2 or 3 months, and it was miserable. My parents ended up having to call up there and say, if I can't talk to my son, and we're going to end up pulling him, you know, and they ended up pulling me off that orientation. But I couldn't. They made us, you know, you had to learn the Bible. Then you had to learn all this stuff about the military, the Marines and stuff. You had to learn all these general orders, and then you had to learn all these verses in the Bibles. And all I could worry about was how am I going to get my legs healed, because I can't run, I can't walk, I can't do these exercises that these people want me to do, you know. And they thought I was just being lazy and stuff, but I was really in pain the whole time, and it was absolutely horrible.
John, like, did you know anything about the program prior to going there?
No.
Outside of just the brochure, of course.
I just knew the brochure, and I thought I was going to go there and make friends, and it was going to be a cool place, you know, that I could start all over and actually have some friends and stuff. So
yeah. Well, what were your first thoughts like when you arrived there?
So at first it seemed cool, and then when my parents or my brother and my dad was still there, they already had 2 senior cadets come and pick me up, and they were instructed to beat me like when we got back to the barracks, and that's exactly what they did. They started beating the I, me, and you out of you, so you couldn't say I, me, or you. You had to say, refer to yourself as this cadet or the fellow cadets. And it went from like little slaps to the back of the head to full blown punches to the back of the head to you're getting beat and you're getting slammed up and down. Doing, you know, it was chaotic. You started your day throwing up, you ended your day throwing up. You know, these guys would take you out in the middle of the field, and they had fire ant piles, real big ones. I even took pictures of all this stuff, and they would roll you in there, and they would roll you in the direction of those fire ant piles, you know, because they knew it was going to be chaotic. And you're talking about getting bit like that. It was horrible. So
I bet. And it sounded like they were like immediately trying to strip you of your identity.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they were, that's for sure. So
absolutely.
You know, from the way you wore your underwear to you putting your names on everything, I mean, it was wild to how you couldn't even use the restroom at leisure. You couldn't do nothing, talk or nothing at leisure. I mean, you know, and this wasn't all the time that this facility was open. He transformed through different names for it and different ways he you know, taught the schools. You know, he was getting so much scrutiny over him running the facility and his sons and stuff, you know, that he started hiring people to do that stuff for him, you know. And one of them was that William Knott. I mean, this guy was an evil guy. I'm talking about, I have not ever in my life seen anybody that was like him, you know. I mean, he was affiliated Crip gang member. He was, you know, a Special Forces Marine, you know, and he did some crazy stuff, you know. And, you know, we'd washed his vehicle one time. He had bullet holes all in his car, you know, and no telling what he got into. You know, I mean, they were taking a guy named Aaron Rude. His testimony's on YouTube, and it talks about. I mean, they took him to underground fights and stuff, and he was supposed to take these losses and stuff. You know, and he's fighting these kids that are trying to get their amateur pro life card. You know, and then they were taking us to these dog fights and these, just torturing these animals and torturing each other, and just crazy.
Right. I don't want to interrupt you, but Dave is saying that he's ready.
Okay. Yeah, I got to take a little break real quick. I'll let him do his little spiel here, and I'll be right back. I'm gonna use the restroom quick. Dave's a really smart guy. He's been. I mean, he's the one that really. I mean, he was the catalyst to all these guys reconnecting. I mean, he's reconnected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these people. So, but
I got you. So okay, I'm just telling him in the group to click on the link.
Okay. Yeah, I had to go through a whole process to get in there.
Are you on the iPhone by some chance?
Yeah, I tried to go through the YouTube deal, and I forgot my password, so I just went to the Facebook. Dave, if you can hear me, go through Facebook. Dave's pretty savvy with all this YouTube stuff, though.
Yeah, he's probably.
Yeah, I'm telling him while you were talking.
Okay, good.
It was just quicker. I mean, I was able to just. I'm gonna grab a phone charger too.
That's so strange. I don't know what that squeak is. The feedback.
You don't have a YouTube open, do you?
I don't. So I don't know.
It's no big deal, though. All we can do is just mute when you're not talking.
Do what now?
I was talking to Brandy.
Where you at, Dave? I know you're smarter than this. Yeah, I'm going up to see him September 1st. We're going to have a little reunion and stuff, and we're going to go up to his cabin and do a bunch of stuff. So I'm excited. He came down a while back, and we had a blast, and just reconnecting with people you haven't seen in so long. And
That's so cool, John. I know that's going to be great for you guys.
Yeah. Well, hey, all these guys were assholes, though. They all picked on me, so. Hey, now I might be able to beat them up now.
Oh, right. Maybe a little more advantage this time. I love it. I'm glad you guys have the camaraderie that you do, though. Yes, Miss Ann. He sure
Yes,
can.
Miss Ann. Yeah, I think.
What's funny is
only if I bring it up there. And
what's funny is when we all start reconnecting, you get these new guys in there. They're hating on each other because they had problems with each other when they were there. I'm like, hey guys, we were little kids, like you can't be mad about a little kid.
Hi, Dave. Welcome.
Hey guys.
What up, Dave?
I'm going to turn my camera sideways. I'm actually out at a family cabin right now, so I'm with my dad right now, who sent me to Bethel. So I'm I'm doing good, but I'm going to get in the car here. So I got some light. There we go. Sorry about the setup.
Oh, you're fine. Welcome. Thank you for.
He's he'll freeze a little bit. He's up in the mountains.
Yeah, can you guys hear me, or am I breaking up pretty bad?
No, you're good.
Okay, sounds good.
Well,
John, good to see you.
About everything, and I told him that you got your little spill, and you should tell them how you got all this started.
Yeah, I'll chat with you guys for a little bit. Like I said, I'm up here with my dad, so I don't have too long, but I appreciate you inviting me on this, and I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. I know John feels the same way. Any type of awareness we can bring to these facilities, what me and John went through, any of those Bethel boys, is huge. So we are super appreciative of you doing this. the more people that know about this, right? We shouldn't be having this conversation. These places even exist. So the more people that know about it and get the word out there, like you guys, we appreciate it 1,000%. So I'm always willing to, spend a little time with you. You can ask any questions you want. John's he's we got a group, Bethel Boys. John's one of, for sure, the homies, man. John's been through a lot. He's done a ton for us, and we all went to this crazy place. We became adults and realized that these places still exist today. So that's kind of why we did what we did, So we're trying to take what happened to us and kind of make people aware and turn it to some good somehow.
Yeah, we teach parents how to do their due diligence. If they're gonna do that, So
Yeah, don't you think that the breakdown is there? The breakdown is in the home. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not, blaming everything on the parents, because it's not just the parents, but the breakdown starts there. It has to.
Yeah, I'm going outside. I'm just trying to get a place of good service. Like I said, I am kind of up in the mountains. So if I'm breaking up too much, you guys just mute me.
You haven't broken up at all.
No, you're good.
Okay.
And yeah.
I mean,
You
even though
were
you
good.
freeze a little
You
bit,
were
you can still hear you
perfectly
perfect.
fine when you were in the car. It's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Then maybe I'll go back in there. But yeah, I agree with you. The breakdown is it's not all like my parents, for an example. In a lot of these facilities, and I'll let you, sorry, I'm kind of rambling. I'll let you ask me any questions you want, but just because I heard that, a lot of these facilities, there's a lot of parents that have good intentions and they're trying to do the best that they can for their kids.
Yeah.
They get duped by the owners in these facilities. Now, there are also kids out there that their parents don't want them anymore. We call those kids throwaway kids. So I'd say it's like a good 80-20. 80% of the parents have good intentions. 20% of the parents just want to get rid of their kid, and they can do it with a little bit of money, which is messed up as well.
Right. So you brought up money. So tell me what it cost your family to send you there.
So I went in 1996 to 97, and my parents at the time paid $2,800 per month, which, if you look at it now, I've heard these facilities, it's almost like senior care, I think, in a way. Like if you look at senior care now, where I'm at on the west coast of the United States, you're looking at anywhere from 7,000 to 9,000 a month for senior care. I'm assuming these places are probably charging the same. I bet you 7 to 9, 6 to 8, depending where you're at. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but they're definitely.
They get around by. I mean, I'm sure that some of these places charge people's insurance. I mean, so in some way, shape, or form.
True.
If they
That's a
have some
new thing.
doctors there or some kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
A
guys should
lot of
ask Dave
money.
about how he ended up there by bounty hunter. So
Yeah. Tell us your story, as much as you can. I know you don't have much time, but
Yeah.
give us a quick overview of how you ended up there.
Okay, so I came from a relatively good family, I would say. I had a dad that traveled a lot and wasn't around. But other than that, they did their best to raise us. I got into drugs, alcohol at a young age. I had friends by the time I was like 13, 14 years old, people shooting up heroin around me. Long story short, I got arrested a bunch of times, and the police wanted to do something with me. And in order to get a bunch of charges dropped, I'd gotten arrested. We stole a car, had a bunch of drugs with us. To get charges dropped, in turn, they were going to send me away to a facility. It was a big plan. They were going to come and take me by bounty hunters in the middle of the night. And what happened was basically I had come home early, skipping school. I heard my mom talking to somebody about the whole plan. So I knew what was going on. And long story short, I had knives under my bed because I was just out of control. I knew what was going on. I thought I was just going to run away. And I had the police called on me because I had the knives under the bed, and I was transported. I was taken and held against my will in jail for like a week, which I was just absolutely nuts because I wasn't doing anything wrong. I hadn't done anything. I just had the knives. And eventually I was transported by a bounty hunter. A lot of these kids, I was taken from jail by a bounty hunter, but a lot of kids taken from these facilities. My parents' plan was to have the bounty hunters come in at like 2 a.m. wake me up and kidnap me, put me in a van, and take me away. Like, could you imagine being kidnapped as a child? Like, you don't even
How old
know
were
what.
you?
I was 16 years old, and again, I was getting into trouble, so I knew something was going to happen with me. But I've heard stories, kids like 12 years old, bounty hunters gagging them, taking them into a van with no windows on the van, transporting them against their will. I mean, I couldn't imagine how, you have nightmares of being kidnapped or having something happen to you, right? Imagine actually being physically kidnapped. And half of the times I've heard stories that the parents are crying and being like, what are you doing? Like, they don't realize what they're signing up for. Like, we're going to take your child, and we're taking the child against the will. And at that time, I don't care. I've heard, like I said, I've heard parents saying, like, I couldn't believe what they did. I saw them punching my kids and this and all this crazy stuff. And my kids freaking out and screaming and crying. Long story short, if you're going to hire a bounty hunter to take your child, they're still worried about their life. Like, I had knives under my bed in case a bounty hunter came and got me. So I get it. The bounty hunter's got to do what they got to do. But, if you're a parent, you're literally having your kid kidnapped in the middle of the night. So that was the plan. I found out that was going to happen. So instead of kidnapping me in the middle of the night, they transported me by the bounty hunter from jail. And I got there late at night, and this place was like something you'd never seen before. We went from airport to airport, and they took me through all the back stalls of the airports in handcuffs and stuff like that. And I went from Seattle to the state of Mississippi, went on 3 different airplanes, got there at like 4 a.m. We went on a really long dirt drive. And when you pulled up to the dorm, it was like a scene you'd never seen before, like out of a movie. That had big blue metal fans down south. And he brought me into the dorm. All these kids, woke up in the middle of the night. Fountain came down there and told the bounty hunter, oh, we got him. He's safe. He's good to go. He's good to go. Everything's good. The moment the bounty hunter left, throws me on the ground, starts searching me, basically like almost like Happy Gilmore. You're in my world now. But it was not funny like that. It was like, you're in my world now. You're going to do what you're told. And from there, everything just like, it was like, whoa. And I learned real quickly. I'm sure John explained a little bit about his time there, but I learned real quickly to do what I was going to say. And one more thing real quick, the bounty hunter, when he dropped me off, he had taken a lot of kids. He goes, I've taken a lot of kids to different places around the U.S., but I've never taken anyone this far. He said, keep your head down, do what you're told, and you'll make it out alive. And that was his little like spiel to me before he dropped me off there. So it was,
it's
in
just
my
like what you're saying,
experience,
some of these kids didn't even know they didn't know their parents even sent them there. They thought they just got kidnapped, what I mean? And then they might have known, but they didn't know, and then just to be not told nothing, and then, they finally tell you, and just think about that whole other part of the trauma, I mean, it's a barrage of just craziness. I mean, it's wild.
And one thing too, I mean, imagine being, so where we are at, and this is common with a lot of places, you can't talk to the parents for 2 weeks to a month. So imagine getting kidnapped, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, mom, this happened. And the mom's like, well, we know, we kind of set it up, right? And even just being dropped off, like the abandonment issues that so we've done a lot of work, myself, John, and a lot of these guys with a lot of people over the last like 5 or 6 years. And I will tell you, you could be drowned, you could be resuscitated, you could be shocked by electric fences. And these are all things that I've talked to people about that have personally told me. You can have this done to you and that done to you. But one of the worst things that I've ever had to deal with was being abandoned by my family and the kids and the people that loved me, that I thought loved
Isolation.
me. That is some of the hardest trauma that people can't get over, is the feeling of being, because these places, that's what they want to break you down. So they say you are abandoned. Nobody loves you. Nobody cares about you. And that messes people up in their life way more than the physical abuse can. That mental, letdown or mental abandonment. Yeah.
I still have a letter from my dad. You've read it, Dave. When I was trying to tell my parents what were happening to me, and they knocked me out. I was on the phone with them, and I got knocked out. Well, they didn't let me use the phone after that, and I continued to be on orientation. And my dad wrote me a letter, and he talks about how disappointed he was in me. I mean, I could hear the tone of his voice, the way he was saying it, and everything. That Brother Fountain's trying to do good for me, and I just need to shut my mouth and listen, and it's like at that point I knew I was screwed.
Complete
like
crap.
Nobody's gonna believe me anything I say, so just might as well stay silent. So.
Yep.
So when you got home, Dave, did your family believe you?
No. So when I went and I spoke to my parents about it, it it was about 5 minutes into the conversation, and they started actually getting upset at me. They said, "You are lying to us. We would never ever send you to a place like that." And I started getting upset. I'm like, "I'm not lying. What are you talking about?" The conversation ended with my parents saying, "Until you're ready to tell us the truth about this, I don't ever want to talk to you. I don't ever want to talk to you about this again." And I literally did not talk to them for 20 years about it.
Wow.
See, I didn't even know that.
Wow.
You didn't talk to your parents for 20 years?
No, about it. No, about it.
About
Oh, yeah.
that subject.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't do.
yeah,
I've had to
not like
force
didn't
this
have a
subject on
relationship.
my
Yeah.
parents. Just I'd have to get angry about it and then just start yelling at it. And then I'd be like told to grow up, or just it's like, damn, man. At some point, a person needs to talk about some shit like this, and
Yeah, and I think one of the best things for all of us Bethel guys is coming together. So if you've ever been to not just a facility, if you've ever been to a facility, if you've ever experienced, let me put it this way, if you've ever experienced trauma, try and find other people that can relate to you and have possibly gone through similar stuff. Because the biggest thing I think for all of us guys was we got this group now over like 200 plus people on Facebook. But the biggest thing for us was to connect with somebody else and be like, yeah, we're not crazy, dude. I was there with you. And then to sit there and tell, all of a sudden, your parents can see, oh, wait, your parents, your abuser, the people that didn't believe you were abused, whoever it is, you're like, look, I'm like a part of this. And all of a sudden, the biggest thing we got, validation. We were like, okay, what you guys have been saying is true. Because for me, I would tell people the story of what we went through and they'd be like, oh, that's crazy. And then about 5 minutes into it, they get a glazed look on their eyes. I could tell they weren't believing me. So I stopped telling anybody. I didn't even tell my wife about it when we got married. But by finding this group and getting validation with each other, we could then be public about it and get that sort of like validation. And to get that kind of crap off your chest is huge. When you go through trauma, don't bottle it in. It's best to talk about it because, you just hold it in, especially as guys, stuff like that. But that was a huge thing. All of us coming together. And that's one thing, John's been freaking huge. There's been so many guys that have found so many guys. And now we got this big, giant group of people that went through all the same stuff.
Survivors.
And we can be like, oh, you didn't believe me, mom? Or dad or wife or anybody. Oh, look at this now. And
a lot of them didn't have a mom or dad.
like, oh my gosh,
so
we got it publicly out there and all that stuff. It's pretty cool.
So, what was probably the worst thing that you experienced while you were there? I mean, what was the worst experience that
I'm
you had?
gonna try to go out here because I can't hear you guys.
Dave was made to do.
John, you got more worse experiences than me, buddy. I'll let you take that.
Mine was just isolation. So, Dave, you can't say that. Trauma's trauma, dude. I mean, I can only imagine them. Them having you beat some of these kids up and doing some of the stuff you had to do, dude. You had to live with that, dude. I mean, that's just equally to me. It's equally horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we dropped him.
Yeah, he fell. Hopefully he'll come back.
But mine was just the separation. Didn't have nobody, just not having nobody. I could take the beatings all day. And I didn't enjoy it, but over time, I did get sympathy from those guys. I guess that I guess you see somebody getting beat down so many times. You kind of have. So if anybody kind of at the end of my stay, if anybody kind of messed with me, they would have to deal with a whole bunch of other people. But like a good friend of mine, Dan Edwards, when he got there, he tried to beat me up and he threw me over a mop bucket and he got his jaw broke. I mean, it literally broke in half. I mean, and we all got punished for that. So
right,
that was a horrible next 36 hours. I mean, so staying out of tension, you can't move, and then you're locking your legs back to cut the blood flow off to your head, where you just like hit the floor, and being down there for 15 seconds, feel like you was asleep for 2 hours.
So,
But
Brandy, what kind of, you got a question?
I do. I mean, I have a few, but I was trying to give Dave a minute to come back because I know he doesn't have that long. Just before I went into, but I mean, I can. Something I do remember that that John shared before. Tell the chat if you don't mind the story about the dogs.
yeah, so I got bit in my testes, and you know what's crazy about that is I had to get stitches. Dave, you can ask Dave. I had to get stitched up by Herman Fountain's wife. They wouldn't even take me to the doctor. So I'm a 12-year-old boy, and I got this woman, you know, fondling me, and they're laughing at me while they're doing this. You know what I mean? The humiliation from this was horrible. But yeah, they had these pit bulls, William Knott did, and they taught these dogs German. So the way I remember the word is Yoko Schmiedes, and it means sick 'em boy. They taught these dogs German to where, you know, only the people that knew the words. You know, over time I learned the words because I was there for a while, and you know, I would get the dog to stop, but you'd end up getting this equally beaten for doing that. But this guy cared about these dogs. You could not put your hands on this dog. I mean, and these dogs were well trained. You know, Polo, he was the house dog, and he's in the documentary. But these other two dogs, there were several over the years, but they would keep them on leashes, and they had a house out there for them, but it was out in the middle of I mean, it was out in the middle of the swamp, and only a certain person, you know, maybe a couple people throughout a year would go back there and feed these animals. You know, they weren't allowed to be around nobody, and they'd feed them gunpowder. And I always thought that was something that old timers said. You know, I didn't know it would really, you know, they'd feed them gunpowder and whey protein and shit. You know, but that it was a form of punishment. You know, if you heard that word, you know, Yoko Schmiedes, you better take your ass to running. I mean, and that really didn't help because you're going to get, you know, dogs fast. You know, so. But,
Thank you for sharing that.
Yep, I remember one time. Yeah, that dog, man, it messed a lot of people up. But also the house dog Polo, I mean, the dog would love on you, you know, but at the same sense is he could turn that dog against you real quick, you know what I mean? So that was what the horrible thing about that was, you know, and then, you know, I got a buddy of ours, Brock, he was one of the guys that took care of the dogs, you know, and he had to put some of these dogs down and stuff, you know, and you grow a bond with those animals, you know, and you know, being a child, you're going through some kind of trauma, and then you're having to do something like that. I mean, it's wild. I mean, the shit they made these kids do.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My back, is it better if I turn the camera off? Probably.
Well, you were fine till you weren't.
The compilation of trauma is just crazy to me that you guys dealt with. Just repeated. I think one of my biggest questions, I think for Dave, and this is only because John shared with us that you were more like into as far as like the legalities go. Do you know like how the regulations and things are for the TTI? How that's going now?
Yeah, and I'll go into it real quick. And John, you know, if you guys want to do another time when I'm not.
So September 1st, I'm going down there, and we can do it live while we're all down there, you know. And
yeah, so I know. I apologize. I'm in really bad reception right now, and I'm hearing some like super crazy feedback. But
give us a spiel about you know the House Bill 440 and all that stuff.
Yeah. So here, you know, the thing is, with the treble teen industry, there's two sides of it. There are state ran or places that are ran by entities that are governing. You know, for an example, like I think Provo Canyon, I think is more of a mental health facility where we see a lot, and there's definitely, you know, I'm not taking away from anything, but where we see a lot of the craziness at is with religious run home schools. Like where we were at was Bethel Baptist Boys Home. A lot of facilities that are religious, there is a separation in our country, a separation of church and state, which means no matter what religion you follow or you believe in, the government does not have the right to interfere or get involved in that religion. Now, I mean, that is what I don't care what religion you are. You don't want the government telling you what you can do or can't do when it comes to religion. So that's never going to change. The separation of church and state, in my mind, everybody has their own opinions, but in my mind, that needs to be there. So with a lot of these laws and a push to regulate these facilities, a lot of people, when it comes to the religious aspect, are trying to say, well, we need to get rid of the separation of church and state. They even did like a House bill with the whole congressional thing with Adam Schiff. And a lot of these people were pushing to get regulations on these teen ran homes. But within that bill, it was trying to separate church and state on a church level, which you're just never going to do. Once you try and do separation of church and state, it becomes a battle of left versus right. But really what we're talking about is protecting kids that are in homes that are not their own, right? That are ran. It doesn't matter if you're religious or if you're non-religious. We want to just protect the kids and the kids only. So if we can make it a nonpartisan issue, then all of a sudden, yeah, the laws to protect the kids, really what there needs to be is a national bill put out there. And we have, so in Alabama, after Herman Fountain ran Bethel Boys Academy and Superintendent William Knott became the superintendent, once Bethel Boys Academy got shut down, William Knott moved to Pritchard, Alabama, which is like 15, 20 miles away, opened a home called Restoration Youth Academy. He took his exact principles of what he was doing and what he learned, and he was ex-military. He took those exact tactics and moved it into Alabama. And because he had moved states, from Mississippi to Alabama, there was no way to get him. And so, long story short, there was Captain Kennedy, which you guys, it'd be cool to interview Captain Kennedy and talk to him as well. And can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, you're good.
You guys can hear me okay. So what they did is they shut Restoration Youth Academy down. Restoration Youth Academy was doing crazy stuff. There's even, you can look up, called A Boy Called Lucas on 2020. William Knott went in the room and gave him a 45 and said, you want to kill yourself? Kill yourself. Handed him a 45. There's all these crazy things you can see on Restoration Youth Academy as well.
Yeah,
but
we definitely talked about that one last week, I think.
Yeah, they were isolating these kids, hanging them up by their feet, just doing horrible stuff to them, stripping them down, making them exercise naked, and it's real horrible stuff.
Yeah, absolutely crazy stuff. And so, long story short, Captain Kennedy, which is like, here you'll see him in the documentary if you watch your documentary Teen Torture Inc. Captain Kennedy's one of the coolest guys I ever met. He put his whole career on the line. He has fought for kids. Like, he cries for kids. He's one of the coolest guys. He's definitely getting older now. I've had the privilege to meet him in person and spend time with him. He is amazing. He is awesome. But he knew there was something going on, and he had also known about Bethel, and he got them basically shut down and raided. And after he got Restoration Youth Academy shut down, he helped to sponsor House Bill 440, I believe. Again, it's been a little while since I talked about the bills. I'm pretty sure it's House Bill 440 in Alabama. I can get you the exact information, but Alabama's in the Bible Belt, and they were going after Christian-based facilities. Two of the people that got arrested at Restoration Youth Academy were preachers. And Kennedy said, look, we don't care about religion. Kennedy is a strong Christian. I'm a strong Christian myself. It's nothing to do with religion. I don't care about your religion. You can be whatever you want. It's about protecting the kids. But you can't use and exploit religious liberties as a loophole to abuse kids and tell officials not to come into your facility. And that's what they're doing. They're basically saying we're a church, and because we have religious liberties, you cannot come in and do simple things like check on the welfare check of the child. Have a line where a child can reach out to help if he's being abused. Have authorized mental, health professionals. All these things that you would see in a state-ran or a publicly ran facility. All these requirements, they're exploiting this to say, "Oh, we don't have to have it because we're a religious entity," but that's not correct. You could be a religious entity. We're not impeding on what you're teaching. We want to know the health of the children. And so what they did in House Bill 440, if you are a facility that houses children outside of your home that are not your kids and houses them for more than 72 hours in a certain manner, and like what they're doing, the state has the right to come in and check on these kids, whether you're a religious facility or not. And in the Bible Belt in Alabama, that bill, House Bill 440, passed unanimously, 100%, almost 100% vote. I think there were like 2 people that didn't do it within 72 hours. It's one of the best bills. It should be the foundation for a national bill or any bill that anyone's trying to pass. People are trying to pass. We went and passed a bill in Missouri. People trying to pass bills in Utah, California, all these different places where bills are already passed. But this bill is like the staple of a bill that should be passed nationally. And so it passed. It ran William Knott out. William Knott got sent to prison. There ain't no facilities like that in Alabama. So it's a huge thing. And the thing is that I want to say to anybody out there that is that is trying to fight this industry or these facilities, it's not a left versus right. We got a bill passed in Missouri, and it was sponsored by the Republican, the Republicans. It was not sponsored by the Democrats. You want to go and get a bill passed by the Democrats, they'll pass it all day long, especially if you want to attack or go after religious liberties. Then yeah, they'll jump on board, but you're never going to pass it without both sides. If you create a bill that focuses on nothing but the children, not religion, not this, everybody's got their things, nothing but the children, you'll pass a national bill right away. If you can find a bill that protects the children, and that's all you need to do. So we don't bash religion, we don't bash non-religion, we don't bash any viewpoints, we don't bash. There's lots of kids that have been sent to these facilities for a range of reasons. We don't bash any lifestyle, anything. We're all on the same team. Our only focus is focusing on the kids. And the moment that we can make this a priority to anybody, even the president right now, if you go to him and say it's just about the kids, man, they'd pass it. So
these kids.
That's my spiel on the government thing. I know I probably went off there really bad for like 10 minutes.
No,
that was
no.
good. That was
We've
really
actually. Good. I'm sorry, Brandy. Tell him about the petition that you started.
Well, yeah, and I'll definitely send it to you, John, too, or I can put it in the group. That's right. But it is a petition that and it's just started. It hasn't gotten off the ground yet, but we're hoping for it to. But it's just to do exactly what you just said. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Hopefully we get some traction on the petition as well. Because I know lots of states need actually the House Bill 440.
Well, what's sad is you see these kids that go in these facilities and they're not getting the right mental treatment. A lot of these kids needed, medical attention. And all they're doing is getting beaten, or it's just.
Yeah, I mean, and it's. I think it's simple laws too. Like you have to have a license if you're dealing with youth, especially troubled youth. You have to have a licensed physician on staff.
Yeah.
You have to have a licensed healthcare representative. The police have to have the ability to come on and check, to come onto your site or your facility and check on the welfare of children anytime they want. They don't need to give you a notification so you can dress all the kids up, get them, give them ice cream first and tell them you better not. You need to have some sort of a line. In prison, there's, if you have trauma, there's a phone you can pick up. Why can't our youth have that?
Yeah.
It's just simple little things that,
at the end of my stay, they did that. So my dad, when he came down here to see me, it was a weird time of when I was there. They were real lenient. They started letting us watch TV. We got to sit in the middle of Suave. We got to eat. They bought us pizza. And it was just real. I knew something weird was going on. You know what I mean? So, and it was because DHS, they knew they had a heads up that DHS was coming there or CPS was coming there to check on the kids, and
right. And they shouldn't have, because that's what CPS, never mind. That's a whole nother monster in and of itself. So, okay. yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah. Hey guys, real quick. I gotta get going here because, like I said, I'm with my dad. But I am down if you guys want to do another thing and chat with me and John. And we got a couple other guys too that would love to come on and chat with you. But I am 100% down. Like I said, I appreciate you allowing us to talk. And I apologize. I feel like I'm talking super fast, not listening to questions. I'm just kind of going, but I do got to get off. It was kind of unexpected, but I appreciate y'all. And I want to say thank you. And just to let you know.
Well, thank you for your time. We look forward to the next one.
Yeah. See you soon, Johnny. Me and John can be together soon, along with hopefully some other guys. So yeah. Later, guys. Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Yeah, I got to get to. I got to get in here and get some beauty sleep. I got to be up early.
Well, I understand, but thank you so much, so much for being here. I hate that you have to share this, and I hate.
Well,
that
I love to
guys,
share it. I mean, people are willing to listen. I love to share. I mean, it's not about people feeling sorry for me or nothing. It's just bringing light to what could happen to somebody else. It's all about parents doing their due diligence before they send their kids to this place. If you're just going to absolutely send your kids to this place, you need to do your due diligence. Call in state and try to find a facility in state. And if you call in state and they're trying to push you not to, bring your kid there, because these places don't want kids from the same state. You know what I mean? They want kids from out of state because the legal side's so much harder when that happens. And that's what happened to all these Bethel boys. They were from all over the United States. And I don't know if was it called laissez-faire or whatever. It's so hard to file a lawsuit against somebody for anything that's in a different state. Just simple the fact they'll run you out of money, they'll run you out of time, the threats. It's just a whole. I've seen it all. And so it's just you got to do your due diligence, parents. I mean, you try to find a alternate means. There's so many different things out there you can do other than just send your kid off somewhere. So. And guys, we have parents that are on our test they have their own testimonials on our YouTube page, and it tells their story about how they sent their kid there, and and it's pretty wild. I mean, it's
well, I'll definitely share your YouTube,
Yeah.
YouTube and your Facebook. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I will too. So I really enjoyed it, guys. This was great.
All right.
So
Thank you.
And let's plan something for around September 1st or 2nd, and then.
Yeah, that sounds probably around the 2nd. It would be great.
I'll be up there till the 8th, or the 7th. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll definitely we'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Right,
Thank you, guys, whoever's in the chat, and thanks for all the comments
John.
and stuff. So, later, guys. Bye, Brandy.
Later. Thanks. Bye. Oh, Brandy left too. Oh my goodness. I didn't think she was dropping down that quick. Y'all, I think that went real well. What do you think? Oh, there she's back. Thursday, where'd you go?
I was trying to unmute it to tell him bye, and I kicked my own self.
Well, you can personally thank them. How's that?
Yeah, I definitely will. I put the link in the chat too for the petition.
Okay, you can share it on the group also. But they are definitely talkers, aren't they?
Woo, yes, but I love it. They're full of information.
Yes.
I was trying to type everything down, but the guy that he's talking about, Captain Kennedy, he's the one that I was like, I want to shake this man's hand.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh.
I'd love to have him on here. Exactly.
Oh, yes, like just his not just his due diligence, because I mean, that's what he does, but just the passion and drive that he has to protect kids. It's just, you don't see it that often, as far as like once somebody finishes with their own careers and they're like, oh, I'm retiring, but this man has went above and beyond And
Right.
so I was just excited to hear that they knew who Captain Kennedy was.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I want to say something real quick.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't get to say it while it was gone, but did you see that Thomas came in here, Mr. Turtle Talk,
Yes,
and
I
said
did.
that Jamie is at the ER? Y'all,
Yes.
please. There's Toaster.
Oh,
Thank you, Toaster.
yay!
I'm so happy to see you. Welcome, darling. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Toaster, we are so invested in this series. And help us pray that that people get interested in it, because it's such a an important topic. There's children out there right now that are suffering, and the only way that we can do anything about it is to try to bring light to it, try to bring awareness, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do. So thank you for being here, Toaster. Yeah, please hit that like button. Um, and yeah, it's just it's crazy, but please, y'all say a prayer for our sweet turtle talk. She is such a blessing to us, and she is such a sweet soul. And just pray that this just anxiety, and because she's had a lot going on. Her husband, Mr. Turtle Talk, just lost his aunt this morning, and so they've had a lot going on. But please remember her when you pray, and y'all, please remember Miss Christine's family as they prepare to lay her to rest. Sorry, guys. I, lo- I love Miss Christine. I love her. So y'all remember her family. So Brandy, you got anything else you want to say?
I can't follow up after that.
Sorry, I didn't. I wasn't going to do that. I was not going to do that because I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen.
You don't worry about that person. Miss Christine meant a lot to you, just like she did everybody else. So it's not just one person, and that one person can't just rule it all. You speak what you want to, and scream from the rooftops how much you love her, and how she was such a bright light, and she still is, even brighter for us now.
You know what? You know what's so wonderful is
But
that we still can go listen to her. We still can go watch her. We still can see her because her sharing herself with us on here is such a blessing for us to be able to keep it up, you know.
absolutely, yeah.
I'm
We're
thankful for that. And
yeah,
I'm very thankful to have been able to give her a hug in real life.
right. You are blessed with that. That not many of us, were able to get that. So hold on to that. But you know what? She's still with us all and
Yes,
loves everybody equally.
she did. She did. She
Yeah,
she was she was a peacekeeper.
you're right. And a real, genuine
Yes,
peacekeeper.
yes, she was.
Yeah,
Yes, she was.
yeah. So prayers for her family,
Yes.
because
Thank
unfortunately
you
they're
for
left
coming
behind.
up, and I know you save your questions. So maybe the next one we're gonna do another one with all of them. So hopefully there'll be I mean, we can have up to 10 people on here. So
right,
put a
and
group of them there
meeting
with
with
them being
all of them.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Turtle Talk said she was going to be okay. Praise God.
Oh, thank God. Oh, okay,
We're
we
so
can breathe
thankful.
a
Yes.
little easier. Yeah.
Yeah, because y'all, you don't know how my heart just dropped when I saw that on the screen. And I was right in the middle of this, and I was like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's such a blessing.
Yeah, she is. She is.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming up and helping me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for once again for giving or allowing them to have your platform and giving them a voice
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
validation.
I know. It's they are such strong, strong men.
They are. They are. Yeah. Thank you everybody for coming in. I'm gonna go ahead and jump down. I love you. See you later.
I love you too. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Y'all, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to play out our song again, the little song again that's dedicated to all the survivors of the troubled teen industry. And remember, when you can be anything in this world, please choose to be kind. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And this world would be a lot better place. I love each and every one of you. Please, please, please come back next week. As I'm not sure what the topic's going to be yet, but we will definitely have some information for you. But I love each of you. Please, 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 please say a prayer for everyone that we mentioned and each and everyone in chat. And there's my Miss Lulu again. I love you, Lulu. Thank you for being here. Toaster. This toaster says, do you still have same number? If so, I may call you in a few days. Yes, ma'am. My number is still the same, and I would love to talk to you. I was actually we were talking about you earlier, and it was all good, by the way. So yeah, just reach out to me, Toaster. I'm still here, honey, and we still got something for you. I don't know whether you need it anymore, but we still have something for you. You remember what that was? But thank you again. I love each and every one of you, and please, please remember to just to be kind. So I'll go out with that song. Love you guys. Thank you again for being here.
They took my name, they took my time, taught me fear, said it's divine. A hollow prayer in a locked up shrine. The walls don't speak, but they know my cries. Counting stars through iron skies. We are the broken wings, caught in a cage that sings. But the song is pain, oh the song is pain. We are the voices that remain. Promise Promises wrapped in razor wire. Dreams burned up in the coldest fire. They sold control as something higher. We are the broken wings, caught in a cage that sings. But the song is pain, oh the song is pain. We are the voices that remain. They called it love, or they took our life. The shadows don't own the night. We rise, we rise. We are the broken wings, caught in a cage that sings. But the song is pain, oh the song is pain. We are the voices that remain. They called it love, well they took our light. But shadows don't own the night. We rise, we rise, we rise. We are the broken wings.